Hello, welcome to 1-8, ordering whole numbers and decimals. Today our goal is that we're going to order whole numbers with decimals. This is pretty similar to what we did yesterday with just the decimal part, but now we're going to add our whole numbers in. So let's take a look. Alright, so example 1 says, the table shows the cost to build 3 National Football League stadiums. Order the costs of the stadiums from greatest to least. So if I'm going to look at my table over here, I notice that to build the Invesco field in Inglewood, Colorado, it cost $364.2 million. To build the Ford Field, Detroit, Michigan stadium, it was $430 million. And to build the Quest Field in Seattle, Washington was $350 million. Okay, there we go. So first we are going to practice using place value to compare our numbers. So we need to line up the numbers by their decimal points. Okay, so if I line up all my decimal points, I'm going to compare the digits in the greatest place, which is the hundreds place in this particular case. It's really 100 millions, but they just shortened them up for us. So we know that 4 is greater than 3. So I know that 430 million is going to be the biggest. Next, we're going to compare the digit in the next greatest place, which is the tens place or 10 millions place, because these are all values in millions. And so I know that 6 is greater than 5, and so this is the greatest. Then 364.2 is the second greatest, and 350 is the third greatest. Which we'll write that down at the bottom, but here we go. Another way is we could use a number line. So I've got one at 350, one at 430. So 430 is going to be between 425 and 450, but closer to 425. So I'm going to put it about right here. This is going to be 430. Better label them. This is 350 is already labeled. And then I need to get 364.2. Okay, so 50, 75, about halfway between the two is 364.2 million. Okay, so we know that 350 is the smallest, then 364.2, then 430. So the cost in millions of dollars from greatest, let's check that out, to least are 430, 364.2, let me get my decimal point in there, and 350. And there we go. Let's try another one. Okay, so our next example says 4 trees in a state forest had heights of 22 and 65/100ths, 23 and 8/10ths, and 22 and 23 and 25/100ths. Okay, so first we're going to line up the decimal points numbers by their decimal points. Okay, that's always the first step. There we go. Now we're going to annex zeros. Now yesterday I told you take away meant annex, but actually annex means the opposite, which means add them on. Good vocabulary word for you to have. So we're going to add in any zeros that were not already there. Okay? So that they all have the same final place value. Then we're going to start on the left, and we're going to compare the 2's. They're all 2's. Then we're going to go to the next one. We're going to compare the 2, 3, 2, 3. Okay. Then I have to go to the 10th place. I have 6, 8, 0, 2. So I'm going to look at, I'm looking for the smallest. So I'm going to look at my 22 and 65/100ths and my 22 and 0/100ths. So the smallest is going to be 22. Okay, and then this is going to be the next smallest, second place, first smallest. Then I'm comparing 23 and 8/10 to 23 and 25 hundredths, annex the 0. We know that 8 is larger than 2, and so the greatest number is 23 and 8/10. Okay, so if we're going to order them from least to greatest, it would be 22. Then it would be 22 and 65 hundredths. Then it would be 23 and 25 hundredths. Sorry, I guess 2s are hard to make with a stylus. And then lastly, 23 and 8/10. So that's what we have today. That's all I have for you. Quick and easy. It's very similar to what we did yesterday, just adding in whole numbers. So thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.